Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Bard Tonight. I am your favorite Scotswoman, excited show host, Mary Nick Siobhan, and tonight I'm excited to announce that we have finally tracked down Duke Dreamy himself, Styrkarr Jarlskard. His beautiful and dangerous wife, the dread Duchess Stjarna, has tied him to a chair and agreed to keep him there for as long as we need. And if for some reason he escapes, I brought Tiny Styrkarr, and Tiny Styrkarr is happy to be interviewed. Isn't that right, Tiny Styrkarr? Yes, that's right. This is my favorite show, and I think you're the most amazing bard in Ontario. Thank you, Tiny Styrkarr. Well, that's lovely. I'm just going to place you right there next to my computer. All right, so we're not going to waste any time with any more delay tonight, because I'm afraid that Duke Dreamy will somehow escape. And let's face it, we'll never track him down, and he's my white whale at this point. If I can actually get him on the show, I might be able to retire or something. Damn it! He chewed through his bonds. Oh, maybe somebody can find him. Can you hear me, Duchess Stjarna? He's escaped. No, I'm sorry, folks.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Just got here, though. Just getting off of work. It's been a rough one, I tell you.
Wow. Okay, we're going to give him a few extra minutes, folks, because it looks like he just did return from the fields of Hades. My goodness gracious. Very impressive what's going on. This is going to take some time.
It's been a rough day dealing with plague patients.
I was gonna ask how the plague is going, but I'll let you get undressed there for a moment. And no one make any Styrkarr rubber jokes. That's right, Internet. You be kind. There he is. There he is. Thank you so much
it's
for
good
not
to be here finally with you.
Finally, it's been I don't even want to admit how many times we've tried and failed to get in the same place.
I think the important thing is that we tried and we've succeeded now.
This is very true. This is very true. And this is probably why you've won crown before, because you just kept trying, right?
I did try many times before I won crown.
That's excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, especially since you just got in from the fields with the plague. Do you need to douse yourself in holy water or anything before we continue?
Yeah, I don't think holy water is effective as people think.
Oh, well, I'll have to talk to my priest about that one.
Maybe if you're Christian. You understand.
I think it depends. I think it depends on the day. So how have you been holding up during the plague? How is your family doing?
The family's doing great. I've been working too hard, as you can imagine. The plague is a demanding mistress and other responsibilities, but everybody's stayed healthy. Everybody's stayed mostly happy. Work's been a little affected, of course, social distancing and all.
I was going to say, are you able to fully pillage while social distancing? And
No,
as
that's
a
a fair
Jarl,
point.
do you provide your Vikings with masks?
We have, all of us, of course, at Jarlskald Trading and Raiding take the plague very seriously. And so we do our part. Before we pillage, we make sure there are two things that have to happen. One is that the person who owns the gold has to be at least 6 feet away from it before we take the gold. The other thing is the plague doctors that I work with tell me on good authority that the plague is spread by droplets and breathing. So I have also ordered the rest of the crew at Jarlskald Trading and Raiding to make sure that the owners of the gold are not breathing, therefore they will not be spreading the plague and staying 6 feet apart. I think we're taking extra steps, and that's what Jarlskald Trading and Raiding is all about, your safety.
That's very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I assume you all will probably be raiding Scotland, or at least Shetland again soon, in which case I will be on vacation.
We actually tend to try to focus on the places that actually have some treasures.
I am a bloody treasure.
Indeed you are. That's a treasure. That's a treasure I'm not sure I can handle.
There's too much sass in your house already. You don't need to add extra sass.
Oh, you've met my wife.
Yes, the Dread Duchess herself. She is absolutely amazing. We miss seeing her lovely face and having her dancing and her encouragement, you know, obviously.
She keeps me going. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. Dread tyrant or not.
Yeah, we all have our flaws. But I heard that recently you married off a daughter to another householder and you finally got her out of the manor. How did that go?
That went out very well. So she, despite her questionable choice in men, she married one of my squires. I can at least compliment his fine choice in women. Uh, they had been wanting to get married before the plague happened, of course, and I'm sure they're not the only couple that threw a wrench in. But we had a very nice ceremony in our backyard with all of 10 people, social distancing and masked up, and hopefully the restrictions lift soon and we can have a right proper SCA party to celebrate their wedding. But she is Mrs. Ragnar, I suppose now.
And somebody else's problem, so congratulations.
Indeed, although that particular one has never really been a problem. So
I don't know your children very well. I've seen them around, but they all seem lovely, her especially. So congratulations on the wedding, obviously, and to the happy couple. And even though she chose Ragnar, I'm sure she can keep him in check if she's anything like her mother.
right. I think the fact that she had made a questionable life partner choice makes her very much like her mother.
Yeah, we'll just say yes.
Okay.
So there's some interesting rumors about you, and I think that you've maybe followed along a little bit. Perhaps you've received many ravens about the terrible and scurrilous claims that have been made against you by the current king, Christian Bane, by the former king of Avakol, Ivar, who apparently disapproves of everything and is never happy. And I'm wondering if we can take a few minutes for our viewers who have just been dying to know just the answers to these very important questions.
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
First of all, and I think the cruelest rumor of all, spread by our own king, is that you are not a hugger.
Oh no, that's far be it for me to gainsay His Majesty, but I must admit that rumor is quite false. In fact, I even brought pictorial proof if you'd like to see it.
Oh, please share the proof with our viewers.
So, here, for example, is me hugging Sir Arminius. A good friend of mine, lives way up north, beautiful kit, just a fantastic human being, well worthy of the hug that I gave him in this moment here. I believe, yes, Sir Bryn also Thierry. So trying to keeping it close to home for His Majesty. This is me right about to hug Sir Bryn. And here's, look, I want to say not just Thierry, even Frenchmen. I will hug even Frenchmen. And so in addition to the obvious benefits of hugging people from Thierry, I'm even willing to hug Sir Gernon. And of course, it will come as no surprise to anybody who has ever met us that at times I hug other people as well, or specifically other person. And these hugs turn out differently, I can tell you, at least 4 times.
There's less armor involved.
Sometimes.
Goodness gracious. Well, I think that we've put that rumor to bed. Clearly, His Grace Duke Dreamy is in fact a hugger. So let's check that one right off your list, folks. All right, let me check my notes here. So now the next very, very, again, just horrible rumor spread by Duke Ivar, former king of Avakol, says that you are in fact actual cannibal Styrkarr Jarlskard. Can you talk a little bit about this rumor? Have you delved into cannibalism?
I have no idea what he's talking about. The rumors are blown way out of proportion. He wasn't even there.
Okay.
It is true that I do enjoy a nice squire now and then, but having a squire for breakfast per se is not, I think, or eating a squire for breakfast is perhaps not the way His Majesty Ivar took it.
Well, if I can, and I don't have the clip available, unfortunately, what he said was something along the lines of that you're too good at everything. You're too nice. You're too handsome. You're too talented. And so you clearly must have some flaw.
I have
and
always liked His Majesty Ivar. His
Yeah.
Majesty Ivar is unusually perceptive and has good judgment.
I think that that's probably a true statement, or at least Ivar would say that it's a true statement.
Indeed.
All right. Well, now the other rumor, and I think this one's actually a little bit sweet. This is kind of one of those beautiful love story type rumors. Speaking of the gorgeous Dread Duchess. Now, I've been told that she was royalty and that you were in fact a peasant. Her Grace took pity on you, seeing your young and Val Kilmer-like face, gave you succor, and inspired you to triumph in battle. Can you tell me a little bit more about this? And were you a pauper before all your massive, massive success?
You have it right. You have it right. Her Grace took pity on me, and we were very poor paupers, or at least I was when she took pity on me and decided that she would be my wife.
She somehow managed to get that one past her father and the church and the king. That's impressive.
Well, I don't recall asking either the church or the king, but I did ask her father.
Mm-hmm.
And her father thought I would make her very happy. And
Aww.
so I have dedicated my life to doing so.
And it's going well. She has a tiny Viking hut to take to events. So what more can a girl want?
The Viking short house, you mean?
Yes, the Viking short house.
Yeah, I think what she saw in me was potential.
Yeah.
And I think what I needed was somebody to bring out that potential. And she met that in spades.
Well, she has been a fabulous inspiration to you and then to all of us in the kingdom as our queen. Is there a possibility of a Styrkarr Stjarna 2021 reign?
Right now we have no plans. I'm not sure what any SCA plans are anymore. It will be nice when things return to some semblance of normalcy. I enjoy seeing my friends virtually, but I haven't crossed swords with anybody in almost a year, it seems. So it's getting rough.
You fought a crown tournament, I think, one time entirely with just a hand axe. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I've done that twice.
Jeez. That sounds fun. I want to see that sometime.
Yeah, I only made the quarterfinals or the semifinals though. So.
Darn. Oh, I only made the semifinals. No one's feeling bad for you, Duke Dreamy.
It's getting warm in here.
You're married to a beautiful woman. You've got a tiny short house. How many sheep does that set you back for that kind of short house?
The short house set me back. Well, I built it myself. So
like 20 sheep, 30 sheep.
Yeah, surprisingly, I didn't actually make it from sheep. It's mostly cherry wood.
Damn. Here I was thinking if I had enough sheep, maybe I could get
But
one.
it'd be a bunch of sheep if somebody wanted to buy it from us.
That's about all I have.
See my aforementioned comment about raiding Scotland.
Okay, fine. Be a big.
And while my former knight Dagar may have been a fan of raiding Scotland just for the sheep alone, I think that's different motivation.
No. We'll just leave that alone. It's a PG-13 show. Now there's something that I've been researching on my own, and I'm hoping that I can pull these pictures up, but something going on with my computer. Oh no.
Gee, I sure wish Styrkarr could be on my show, but he's just so busy.
Wow, I just accidentally started my own video. I don't know how to get out of it either.
But he's just so busy.
There we go. I was trying to find pictures I have of you, but unfortunately my computer won't bring them up, which is very, very upsetting. So, and I apologize for the strange look on my face. So I have seen a very impressive large statue that looks like you, but is not you, because Styrkarr Jarlskard is a 3rd century something Norse trader raider, and this gentleman looked like a tall, handsome Spaniard. from an entirely different century. So either you time traveled, went to Spain and become some sort of saint, or you learned an entirely different language, went to another country, learned how to do some fancy footwork and artwork, and then came back here. One of those is true.
I don't know if that's the only true thing. I think that just because Styrkarr and Miguel de Sevilla have never been seen in the same room together at the same time, I don't necessarily think that that means that we must be the same person.
Well, there is a picture. No, the statue of Saint Miguel is in your home, is it no?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, okay. And there were allegedly blue Christmas balls hanging off of it.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Mm-hmm. Off what is allegedly called the Queen Maker?
That's a different story.
Oh, okay.
That's how I won crown the first time. Became a bit of a. I became the butt end of a bit of a joke as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
So as you may recall, I fought Arminius in the finals for the Minimay crown, the first time I won crown. And we went to 3 fights, and in the 3rd fight, I got him on his knees, but I could not get past his defense. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything to get past. I tried every trick I knew, and the only trick that I hadn't tried is one that I really didn't want to try, and that was to throw a few shots to try and bring his shield up, and then try and stab him low, hoping that it was a little higher than might be. But it turned out to be just low and high enough at the same time. And so Sir Gernon and some other nefarious people tried to start characterizing that shot as, God, you really Styrkarr'd that guy. And I tried mostly successfully to lobby that was the move that I put my wife on the throne with. Therefore, we should call that move the Queen Maker.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with the cod piece. Good to know.
Despite the lascivious rumors to the contrary.
Excellent. I'm really.
And you'd be glad to know there are no blue balls hanging from that anymore.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
That's okay. So I don't, as I said, my computer stopped working correctly, but you have very, very, so the pictures you showed us of you hugging were in perfectly passable and very decent, and I'm sure very protective armor. But there is a very famous armor that you have that is known throughout the known world. I think there are pictures of you all over the Book of Faces, and it's considered armor porn. And it's kind of like a big deal, sexy. Like, can we talk about that armor? Like, what is that? Where did that come from? Why? And do you run around the neighborhood in it?
Have I allegedly run around the neighborhood in it? I suppose allegedly I have. The armor came about, so it's designed. Let's see if I can bring up a picture or two for you.
Yeah, I don't. This is the first time I've ever had this kind of technical difficulty.
So the armor came about as I was living in Spain several years ago, and I was touring around in the museums in Spain and touring around in the Royal Armory in Madrid. And the Royal Armory in Madrid, if you ever get a chance to see it, is just truly remarkable. And so I would encourage anybody who gets a chance to see it to do so. But in that Royal Armory, there are several suits of armor made by a artisan from Milan in the early to mid 1500s, and his name was Filippo Negroli. And so I got enchanted by this armor and the style of armor, and approached Ugo Serrano, Master Ugo,
Right.
of armor fame, to come up with something similar.
He's also a bit of a unicorn. I've heard of him, but I've never actually seen him. So
You've never actually seen Ugo? Well, I can assure you he does exist. But I approached him, and it had kind of been a dream of his. Or together we came up with the concept. Together we came up with the idea of using of recreating something, and we chose to do it not in the not an exact replica of some of the pictures from the or some of the armors that Carlos V wore, for example, but rather we chose to do it in the exact style of Filippo Negroli of Milan. However, to use my own and our own design elements. So something that was going to be definitely inspired by and in the style of, but something that was in and of itself a unique piece of art.
And it's definitely a unique piece of art. I don't think anyone's ever seen anything like it outside of probably the museum, where you fell in love with the style.
Yeah, I really think it's the finest armor to have been built probably in the last 400 years. Certainly of that style. But this was it in its debut.
It's stunning.
And Ugo behind, of course, there's him actually there.
Like partial face, unicorn, partial face.
A partial face of Ugo, indeed. But the craftsmanship on it is just really magnificent, and
it is unbelievable. And
every piece of a repoussé on it has certain significance. For example, you see my wyverns here.
Yes.
You see, and on the helmet, recurring themes, and the wyverns on the breastplate, as you see, are holding are stretching what appears to be is a flayed face, and it's the flayed face of Saint Bartholomew, who's the patron saint of Milan and who is also a physician. And then you have the crest, which was inspired by the couple of different crests. One was the mermaid crest that Filippo Negroli repoussed, and the other was the captive Turk. There's a beautiful helmet in the Royal Armory that has a Turk with his hands bound behind his back, stretched backwards over the crest of the over the top of the helmet. And on the sides are two angels, one the angel of fame and the angel of victory, and they're holding the Turk down by his twisted mustache. It's just absolutely magnificent. But the our goal was I didn't have any particular affinity for mermaids or particular affinity for to demonstrate my triumph over the Turks, for example. And so you see some pictures of Ugo making it. And so what meant something to me was I call my wife my angel. And so we incorporated that similar idea where we put an angel spread over the back of the helmet as the crest. And so even the crest of the helmet represents my wife. And the fact that she's holding two falchions to the necks of two wyverns should be self-explanatory as well. But of course, the work he did is just absolutely magnificent. It is a sculpture in steel, and every piece of it, the lions on the shoulders. Here's while it was still in progress, here's a piece of it next to an actual Negroli, one of the ones I was talking about. So it made a splash for a reason. His artistry and his realization of that piece of work was a dream come true for both of us.
It's breathtaking. I mean, that's absolutely breathtaking. I know that any time that I've seen you wear it, it's art. As you say, it's completely wearable art. It's absolutely beautiful. And if that unicorn from the Feywild ever descends upon us again, maybe you can drag him to an event or something. I'm sure he's got a busy life, being an artist, but maybe, I don't know, my event, Embers and Ambrosia, if you...
Maybe I could put you in contact, but I don't know how. He does show up occasionally. It's very nice. Usually when he's delivering something or wants to see somebody in particular. But
well, I was promised a bottle of scotch if I could get either you or him there. So.
Oh, well, how good is the scotch?
It's a good question. better be clear on that part.
You would think so, but
Any of the Glens will do.
but you know that the piece isn't finished.
It isn't.
No, it's not.
Oh.
The piece is it's actually still in progress. I'll show you what I mean by that. So the pieces in the Royal Armory, there's a lot of bare steel on it, but the bare steel isn't how it was originally. The bare steel more represents almost 500 years of studious polishing by caretakers rather than the actual original appearance of the armor. So if you see the gorget here, the gorget is actually done. So the original pieces were blackened and decorated in gold damascene. And so as you see in the gorget here, eventually the rest of the suit will match that with gold and silver damascene on the blackened steel represent. And at that point, I'm not sure how much it will be worth, so it may never appear in public again. Or at least I may never fight in it again.
You'll just stay on that statue that's allegedly in your living room.
Allegedly.
So that you bring up damascening, this is an art form that you participate in.
That's it. Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
And you've been doing that for how many years?
I been doing that since around 2012. Okay. So when I first started, when I lived in Spain, and I discovered it, because looking at those pieces of art, the armored pieces of art in the Royal Museum was very inspiring. And there were pieces I'd experienced, and I'd researched gilding before, like mercury gilding, a way of getting gold onto iron or steel or other metals. And I was familiar with that process, but there were pieces in the Royal Armory that clearly were not gilt, but there was gold on. And so I asked one of the caretakers about that, and they said, "Oh, that's damascenado." And so I said, "Oh, that's great, but what's damascenado?" And the English form of it is damascened. But the caretaker told me that, hey, they still do this over in Toledo. And Toledo is about a 25-minute train ride from Madrid. And so I said, fine. So the next weekend I went to Toledo. And Toledo, Spain, is in the geographic center of Spain, used to be the capital before, or close to, but used to be the capital before they built Madrid to do that, to fill that role. And there were shops just full of these beautiful gold inlay, gold and silver and other precious metal inlays in just this magnificent works of art. And so I decided at that point that if we were going to realize truly the armor project, that it was going to need that. So I thought, well, do I try and find somebody in Toledo that can do this, or do I try and do it myself? And so I looked into both of those, and I discovered that finding and paying somebody to do this to the armor would be probably cost prohibitive. The armor itself was already quite expensive, of course, and so I said, well, fine, I'll do this myself. And so then I had to find somebody who was willing to teach me, but none of there's only about, I think there's only 30 some masters of the people practicing it in the whole world, or at least in the Spain that they know about in Spain. And none of them were under the age of 40. So I was a little worried at that point that it was going to disappear. And none of them speak English. So I learned Spanish. And so essentially, well, more than one reason, of course, but really,
just
so
casually decided, I just learned Spanish. I'm living here anyway.
Well, it was an obstacle. At that point, yeah, all right. It was an obstacle. So I learned Spanish so I could learn damascening. And so I learned damascening and studied under Oscar Martin Garrido, who's still a practicing master in Toledo. Just really remarkable artist, and has taught me a tremendous amount.
That's amazing. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but damascening, right, it was from Damascus and then it went to Spain, but also they were doing it in Japan as well, and I think still are, but it's just Toledo in Japan that's...
Actually, it's called, damascenado means damascened, or it's the past participle, it means Damascus. And that's because that's the old Spanish term for it. And that's because the Spanish thought that it came from Damascus. However, they turned out to be wrong. But it was brought to the Iberian Peninsula during the Arab conquests and the Moorish conquests, and so was a big part of Spanish culture as a result of the Arab influence. And Spain, of course, is just this magnificent combination of Christian, Moorish, Islamic, and earlier cultures. Quite remarkable. But the actual technique dates back into Mycenaean times, Greek, ancient Greece, and ancient Egypt. There's Damascene pieces that have been pulled out of like the Tutankhamun exhibit, for example. It contains Damascene pieces.
If anybody's going to have it, it's going to be Tut, right? He was
Probably so.
kind of a flashy guy.
He's a man I can relate to. He's understated, subtle, and humble.
Absolutely. And hunchbacked and buck-toothed and 13.
I didn't die at 16, and yeah, I had some sort of back problem, but yeah, right.
Yeah. So I'm going to, my son is 17. I'm going to go ahead and pack him up and send him to you to just study under you for, I think it's 7 years. So let me know how much that costs for that internship. So I think it's about 7 years, and you know.
I'll just, you don't have to pay. I'll just work it out of him.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can beat him a little bit, but he's kind of skinny, so don't beat him too much, but you know.
No, I've met him. He's a fantastic young man.
But
no, it's funny that you mentioned that though, is because you know, I as a Laurel, I've taken 2 apprentices, but neither of the apprentices are really interested in studying Damaskinado, and so I am looking for somebody who really wants to actually learn it.
Yoshi, just
So
call
if
it.
you know anybody that actually wants to learn that particular technique.
Well, it's unbelievable. I've seen some of your pieces in process on the computer. I don't think I've seen one close up, but it's just amazing. And thank you for sharing that when you share those pictures so that we can all see what you're doing. They're absolutely beautiful.
Well, thank you. Maybe if you offer to share that bottle of scotch, you can convince me to come to Embers and Ambrosia.
Aha! Done.
Now, I've taught classes before and happy to teach classes again. But of course, it's different to teach a class of something that's going to take years to learn, or a long time to learn at least. It's not something that lends itself well to a single 3-hour class, although you get the idea and you can get, you know, maybe enough, hopefully enough to start some people off. I hope I've inspired some people at least.
And that's what we all try to do in some way, right? Inspire somebody to do something, even if it's just help out a little bit more. But I think you're kind of ahead of us a little bit there. You've capped out a bit. You're making us all look bad, frankly.
Not my goal is to make everybody else look good.
Right. So just more Damascene, we all look great. That's fine.
See, that's how it goes.
So
Somebody told me that a real man doesn't make his woman jealous of him; it makes other women jealous of her. So
very nice.
In that.
So how good of a friend does one have to be to receive a Styrkarr original creation?
Well, my time is still limited, of course. So unfortunately, they're not as easy to get a hold of as before, or as perhaps they could be. Maybe not ever before. So my time is limited. So I choose my projects very carefully. Good
to know. These are burning questions from our audience. They also want to know if any baked goods help with that, but I'm assuming that's probably not as helpful as some might find.
Well, I have been known to fall for bribes of lemon crack.
Lemon crack. Duly noted. So,
particularly fine baked goods.
Baked goods are in and of their weight. They're in their own weight of gold sometimes. The lemon cracks actually sometimes have gold on them. So
I have experienced that. That's remarkable.
And you're sitting there going, "Oh, Damasceno on the lemon crack." No. So you mentioned your squires, and I interviewed them when you were unable to make an interview a few weeks or a few months ago. I can't remember exactly when now, but from me to you, and this is just between us, what the hell's going on with those guys?
Man, I have no idea. Who can keep track of their squires?
There's just a lot. That was like herding kittens. I mean,
it's working with children, I'm telling you now.
Right? It was not easy. It was not easy. And you've got like the moody one. What's his name? Hinkst. He's so moody. Oh my God. It's like the sad, like in the background, he's kind of kicking his little leg. And then the pretty one obviously married your daughter. And
Is he the pretty one? Because they fight over that sometimes.
They all agreed he was the pretty one. I asked, boy band style, where did they fit? You know, bad boy, pretty boy. And he got pretty boy.
He got pretty boy. All right. They fight over Alpha Squire sometimes.
That's. Do you have any sort of requirements? Like, is there like a wax on, wax off? Like, do they have to come over and paint your fence or anything and get the work done out of them that way?
All right. What were your ideas again?
Paint the fence.
Painting my fence.
Yes. Sweeping outside.
Washing my cars.
Washing your cars. Dishes.
Horses. Brushing my horse. Whatever.
Yes. Mowing your lawn.
I like the way you think.
I work with what I have. But yeah, they're an interesting group. Those kids.
My squires are fantastic. They are wonderful people. I choose my squires. I think I choose my squires very well. They fit in with the family. They meet in. I always felt like I can teach somebody how to sword fight. I can teach somebody how to axe fight. I can teach somebody about the SCA, but I can't teach them how to be a good person. And so I try and pick good people that I could teach. And I think I've been very successful in that so far. My squires, my apprentices, students, they're all really remarkable people. And then it's just a joy at that point to teach them anything that I can.
Aww.
I feel that way.
That's wonderful. I'll let them all know you're disappointed in them.
Oh, please do. God, if word of that got out, their heads would just...
We cannot let them know that you like them.
Right, and you know the House of the Jarl Skull is all about subtlety, humility. So,
absolutely.
And apparently badgers. I'm not sure how that goes.
I don't know, but if you have to have a statue of yourself just to hold your fabulous armor, then I don't think that badgers are that.
You mean the statue of San Miguel?
The statue of San Miguel, who happens to look like you. Wait a minute.
Sure.
Are you the doctor? You know which doctor I mean.
No, and if you go into the Viking short house, it doesn't get larger on the inside than it appears on the outside.
I just assumed those were all your crazy companions, and eventually one of them was going to turn into a Cyberman, but okay. So, have you seen Lady Runa's, she was my second interview, Lady Runa Harris-Daughter. She came up with a very ingenious trap for how to trap King Christian. Were you able to catch that episode? I
did see that.
So as a tactician, as a warrior, as you are, what's your opinion on her, I think is fabulous, plan and her modified falcon trap?
Yes, baited with Red Bull, as I recall. Yes. Here, I do have a theory about that, and here's my theory. Your question is how effective do I think that would be? Is it a good plan? And I ask you a question. So her goal was to trap His Majesty Christian, was it not?
Correct.
With a modified falcon trap baited with Red Bull.
Yes.
And I ask you, have you seen His Majesty Christian at an event since this video happened?
I've barely seen him at all.
I'm suggesting not only is it a good idea, it may have already been effective.
That's, you know what? I hadn't thought of that, and now that you mention it, I haven't seen Runa lately either, so perhaps the king has been kidnapped or is happily trapped in his little bench press trap.
That is possible. Of course, that does bring a bit of explanation for me as the kingdom champion, so perhaps.
Oh, that's true. You're number 2, aren't you?
I will hope that I did my job well enough that King Christian is not, as we speak, in the hands of the nefarious Runa.
Runa, you have a lot to answer for, lass. We'll be catching up with you shortly. Dear me, dear me. So our friends over at Griffin Eye News, which is the Avacalian counterpart to my show, They'd like to know, what is your favorite incipient shire in Avacall, and why is it Ayersgard?
What a superb question. Well, thinking about all of the incipient shires in Avacall, I think that Ayersgard really stands out. And as to why, well, obviously, Maeve and the people involved in that are just fantastic. However, you have to look, they say the apple falls not far from the tree, right? And who is the patron barony of the incipient shire of Ayersgard? And that would be the barony of Montengard, a known hotbed of villainy, lasciviousness, licentiousness, and bad puns. So naturally, I really like Ayersgard.
And the people of Ayersgard like you too, sir. They told me to say that. They paid me.
Oh, worth every penny.
There's baked goods. There's
But I paid them to pay you to say that.
So I'm asking everyone now, if we could have an event right now safely that you had time off of work to go to, is there a specific event that you would like to just go to right now and kind of take the edge off not seeing everyone for the last few months? So do you have a favorite that you'd like to visit? My favorite event of all time is Barron's Ball. And that's an annual one. Usually it should be like a week from now. It's the first week in October traditionally. It's held in Wastekeep and started originally by the first Baron of Wastekeep, Baron Diane. And so I love it for many reasons. One of it is it was one of my first real great fighting events. It was a local event. It's just nonstop fun, nonstop fighting. And there's an actual ball at the end. So then there's dancing and then there's games, and it's kind of the last hurrah, a bit of the last camping event of the season. And it's getting just a little chilly. And so it's people are gathered around the Bardic fires and talking and drinking like we do. And it's a fantastic way of sending off at least the camping season. Of course, we have indoor SCA events afterwards, but I'm not aware of any SCA event that captures the spirit of what the SCA is to me, like Baron's Ball. And so I have to say Baron's Ball. Now I'm gonna cry because I don't get to go to Baron's Ball this year. I even flew back from Spain the year to go to Baron's Ball when I was there. Well, that sounds like a very special and wonderful time. Everyone, hello. If you're not going to Baron's Ball, make a note of it next time they have it. Apparently, Duke Dreamy's always there. It's the one place we can track him down.
Ouch.
Was it your court that went something like 12 or 13 hours?
Allegedly?
Allegedly?
I'm not sure why you're bringing this up.
Well, I bring it up because it was brought up by another person on another show about how when they moved to Ontario, their first event was a 12th night. There was a 13-hour court. And the hosts of that show were like, what are you talking about? Like their faces dropped. And I went, oh, I know who they're talking about.
I didn't see that particular interview, but I do remember that particular 12th night. And that was, it's not like it was all straight, but there was so much to do. 12th night's a really unique event. And it was our first time on the throne. But it was the end of the reign. We were stepping down. And 12th night's a very unique event because a lot of people attend. So it's not unusual to have 900 plus people at a 12th night in Ontario, right? And so it's a big indoor event. And so all of the late period people who you get a chance to wear your silks and your furs and just this late period finery that you almost don't have any other similar opportunity to. And so as a result, many people, when they're offered peerage, choose to take a vigil until 12th night. That's especially popular for the Pelicans and the Laurels, a little less so for the Knights. But what the result of that is that the court for 12th night is always jam-packed with peerages. And peerages are such an emotional and personal thing, not just for the crown, but for the people and the people that are receiving their peerage, but also for the people who've worked so hard, the friends and family, the Knights, the Laurels, the peers of those people that have all worked so hard and watched this journey happen. It's a magical moment. And so how do you say, okay, you've got, we got a long court schedule today, so you got 10 minutes for your pelican ceremony. You can't do that to somebody. It's an amazing opportunity, an amazing recognition, and you can't tell them no, or at least I didn't feel like I could at the time. So it's something that honestly I think every king and queen who are sitting and stepping down at 12th night go through. There's so much that needs to be done, and there's ways to make it a little faster. And kudos to some people who've really pulled it off well. Carton and Chef, for example, just magnificently done and well organized. But there's a price to pay for it. Yeah, sometimes they have to tell people, no, I'm sorry, but our 12th night schedule is full. You're going to have to pick another day and things like that. And that's not easy as anybody, and certainly not easy for royals to do, because it's a special moment for people. But yes, that was a bit of a long crown. But that said, there was a dance in the middle of that court.
Oh, well, then who's complaining?
I danced with Sir Rifkin.
Oh,
In the middle of Antir 12th night court.
lovely.
I do not think she has forgiven me. There was a murder in the middle of that court.
Okay.
There was rumors of an assassin, as I recall, and a small, bald, feisty assassin. Fortunately, I had the forethought to put a body double in. So alas, my Squire Phelan, he was the shortest-lived court baron of Antir.
I have been told that he's your body double, and that he generally will come out. In fact, he offered to come out in this interview first to make sure this wasn't an assassination attempt.
Oh,
but I was afraid if I let him do that, we'd never get you. I figured it was just a trap, and that he would be like, "Ha, psych! Styrkarr's not coming again." So.
He stood in for me more than once.
He looks a little like you, not exactly, but from afar, sure.
No. He's the closest thing I have to a brother.
But see, you're not a wish model. He's now a wish model, right?
That is very true. That is true.
So I forgot, my little buddy Styrkarr, he had made an appearance earlier in the show. In case you weren't here, I was going to interview him, but thank you for coming, because he's a little wooden. Ba-dum-bum.
I think he's a fantastic guy, aren't you, little Styrkarr?
I am. So my last question, and this is one I'm asking everyone, it's new now. If we could take anything with us from this ethereal time that we're having, where we have to be apart, and keep it with us when we move back into physical events, is there anything that you would like to see continue when we open back up, as it were?
Yeah, there is. And maybe just a little bit on the practical side. I think if this interview is a good example, if there's anything that we've learned during this epidemic and this trying time, is that there's a lot of things that we do that we could do virtually. I'm trying to remember, and I was discussing it with Master Sir Phelan last weekend about when's the last time we were able to go to a crown level event and just go to a crown level event. It seems we have meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. That's something I'd really like to restore. It's almost a punishment for being a peer, and a heck of a punishment if you're a peer in more than one peerage. Yeah. It seems like, and so I would love to be able to go to a 12th night. I'd be able to love to go to a crown or a coronation and go to the event and experience it and fight and stand and watch the Squire's tourney and not be worried about, oh, I'm going to miss the Laurels meeting, or oh, I'm going to miss the Shiv Council, or I'm going to miss Curia or Noble Estates, or whatever it is that I have to do. I think, although there's certainly value in meeting in person, that's not necessarily completely replaced in the virtual world, I really think that we can restore a lot of the joy and a lot of the fun of some of the events, not just for the peers, but for the crown. I can tell you the demand on the crown during an event, especially a crown event, starts at 7 a.m. and they're lucky if they're in bed at midnight, and they're busy the entire time. So what an interesting way maybe to restore some of the fun and restore some of the fun time that's involved in what makes our little hobby so special.
It's a very good answer. Is everyone listening on the councils? Okay. None of them watch this. It's fine. You could say anything you want. I don't think any of them will see it.
I'm in pretty good with the Laurel secretary, so we're fine.
This is very true. So mention my name at the next meeting. Just kidding. Well,
we'll mention your name.
Oh, sorry.
No hiding behind little Styrkarr.
I'm gonna start bringing him to events. If you can't make it, I'm gonna have people with flat Styrkarr take pictures.
It's a good thing. Good thing blushes don't show well on camera.
It's fine. It washes out. Thank God for Zoom. We all just look dead inside. Well, thank you so very much for making time for me, because I know that you have a very busy schedule with everything that you're doing. And thank you so much for everything that you are doing right now during this horrible plague. And I'm so glad that you and your family are all well and safe, and hope that we can all see each other at some point in the next year or so. But if not, we'll keep doing virtual events and interviews and meeting up as much as everybody can. But thank you for being on the show. I don't know what else to say other than yay, I finally got you. Haha, landed a Styrkarr.
Thank you, Myri. Bard Tonight is definitely my favorite virtual television show.
Oh, you haven't heard about the subscription fees yet. We'll talk about those off camera.
I thought that was part of the negotiation for this interview.
Oh yeah, that and the whiskey. Okay, well,
I'm still broke from the bride price.
Yes. Yes, this is very true. Well, everyone, good night from me, Bard Tonight. Good night from Duke Dreamy himself. That's right, I've officially said it to his face. The nickname sticks. He's not getting away from it. And please take care of yourselves. We'll see you all soon, if not in real life, then in our dreams. Bye, everyone.
Miss you all.